In the cold silence of deep space, the Orion frontier stretched like a black sea dotted with stars. Near its edge floated a silver structure, the Valari Embassy Station, shaped like a glowing crescent moon. It shimmered gently, alive and still, watching over space like a quiet guardian. Inside, Commander Elias Rourke walked through the long glass corridor, his boots clicking softly. He was a Terran diplomat, tall, broad-shouldered, his military past hidden under a clean navy blue coat. His eyes, sharp and thoughtful, scanned the strange symbols etched on the walls. Humans had recently ended a tense conflict with the Valari, a highly advanced alien race known for their cold logic and lack of emotion. The war hadn't been bloody, but it had been terrifying. The Valari could predict human strategies before they were even made. Peace now hung by a thread, and Elias had been sent to strengthen it. He reached a sealed chamber guarded by two tall Valari. They had silver skin, smooth faces, without mouths, and glowing blue eyes. Without speaking, they opened the door. Inside the room was quiet and bright. A circular table sat in the center. Beside it stood Ceressa. She wasn't like the others. Her skin had a soft violet hue. Long, silver-white hair floated gently behind her, like it moved with her thoughts. Her eyes were the most human thing Elias had seen in any alien, large, violet, and full of feeling. She wore a long, smooth robe that shimmered like water. Ceressa turned to face him, hands clasped in front of her. "You are Elias Rourke of Terra," she said, her voice smooth but unsure. Unlike other Valari, she spoke aloud, a sign she was different. "I am," Elias replied. "And you are Ceressa?" She nodded. "I am, ... an empath." He had read her file. Empaths were rare among the Valari, so rare that most of them were kept isolated or treated to remove their emotions. Ceressa was the first allowed contact with an outsider. She had shown strong emotional intelligence, even curiosity about human culture. "You've studied Terrans?" Elias asked, sitting down across from her. "I have. Watched your stories. Music, laughter, sorrow," she said slowly. "It is overwhelming, but beautiful." Elias smiled. "We're a little loud." Ceressa tilted her head. "But your hearts are bright." There was a pause. Elias sensed she wasn't just quoting reports. She meant it. Over the next few days, they met. Regularly, the cultural exchange started. Formally, simple questions and answers. But it quickly became something else. Elias played her recordings of Earth. Sunsets over oceans. Children laughing, old love songs. Ceressa responded with poems from her people's past, written before emotion was banned. She described dreams she'd hidden from the council, dreams of flying over golden forests, of hearing her own laugh echo through halls of glass. She asked questions humans might find strange. Why do you cry when you are happy? Why do your people sing alone? What does it feel like to miss someone? Elias tried to explain, but sometimes he just showed her. One day he gave her an old Earth artifact, a wind-up music box. The melody was simple, soft. Ceressa touched it like it was a sacred object. "Emotion hurts," she said one day, her voice shaking. "But it also glows inside." Elias nodded. "That's exactly it." That night, Ceressa sat alone in her chamber. She stared at the small music box playing quietly beside her bed. A tear, her first in years, rolled down her cheek. She touched it gently, amazed. The next morning, Elias noticed something different. When she entered the room, Ceressa smiled, a small, trembling smile. "But real. You've changed," he said softly. Ceressa didn't deny it. "I have felt more in 10 days than in 10 years. Elias looked around, cautious. "Does the council know?" "They suspect. Emotion is infection to them. But I am no longer afraid." He stood beside her. She reached out, almost touching his hand, but paused. "I dreamt you held my hand," she said quietly. "Is that strange?" "Not to us," Elias replied. "To us, that's connection." Looked away. "I want to feel more. I want to live in your world." even if I can't leave this place. You're not alone anymore, Elias said, voice warm. Not while I'm here. As they left the chamber that day, hidden eyes watched them. Cold voice spoke into a communicator. The empath shows signs of contamination. Prepare for mind purge. Back in her room, Saressa sat in silence, holding the music box, and for the first time in her life, she whispered words meant only for her heart. Do it again, human. Love me once more. Saressa stood in the mirror chamber, her hands shaking. The silver glass walls reflected her face, soft violet skin, wide eyes filled with something dangerous. Emotion. In Valari society, emotion was called a disease. Feelings made the mind weak, the heart wild. Logic and control were the Valari way, yet Saressa felt more with each passing day. She touched the small music box Elias had given her. When it played, her heart ached and glowed all at once. Every note reminded her of him, the sound of his laugh, the warmth of his stories, the way his eyes softened when he looked at her, and then she remembered the voice. The empath shows signs of contamination. Prepare for mind purge. That whisper had come from behind the walls, unseen, but heard. The mind purge was not death, but to her, it was worse. It would erase her memories, her feelings, her connection with Elias. She clutched the music box. Tighter, Elias stood outside the main council chamber, restless. He was not allowed in. Today's meeting was closed. He had been told it was internal Valari business, but his instincts screamed otherwise. 2 Valari guards stood near him. Were calm, still like statues. But Elias had spent years reading body language, even alien ones. They were alert. Ready for something? He didn't like it. Inside the council chamber, 12 Valari elders floated in a perfect circle. Their bodies were light, thin like silk stretched over silver light. Only their glowing eyes showed life. A tall figure stood. In the center, Overseer Keleth, head of Valari order. His voice echoed without sound, felt directly in the minds of all present. Empath Saressa is showing advanced emotional disruption. Her exposure to the Terran has corrupted her core balance. Another elder responded silently. The contamination spreads. Her empathy grows stronger, unstable. Recommend immediate mind purge. No one objected. That evening, Saressa was ordered to report to the reflection hall, the place where purges were performed. She walked slowly through the silver corridors, heart pounding. Elias saw her pass by. Something in her walk, her stiff shoulders, her quiet eyes, it told him something was wrong. He followed her. Quietly, when Saressa stepped into the hall, the lights dimmed. A glowing chair sat in the center, surrounded by rings of floating machines. A soft voice welcomed her. For peace, for order, let the burden of feeling be lifted. She didn't move. Then she heard a voice she knew, strong, human, and angry. Get away from her. Elias stormed into the hall. The guard shouted, stepping forward, but Saressa raised a hand. No. Her voice echoed louder than she thought. Possible. The machine stopped. Elias reached her side, breath fast, eyes burning. They were going to erase you, he said, voice shaking. I know, she whispered. They think emotion is poison, but I want to feel.
Elias placed a
hand over hers. Then we fight it. The council arrived moments later, calm but cold. Overseer Keleth looked at them both. You misunderstand, Terran. Emotion is dangerous for us. It causes death in some, chaos in others. Elias stood firm. Then why hasn't Saressa lost control? She's feeling more than ever, and yet she's standing strong. Saressa took a step forward. I've learned from the human. I do not want to be empty anymore. I want to live with feeling, even if it brings pain. Keleth replied, You speak like a Terran. That proves the corruption. I speak like someone who has known silence, she said, and now hears music. The chamber fell quiet. Later, in a quiet room, Elias and Saressa sat beside each other. They were not arrested. Not yet. But the council had given her one day. Just one to return to logic or face the purge. Ceressa looked at Elias, her voice soft. They are afraid not of me, but of change. Elias nodded. Change always scares the old guard, but that doesn't mean it's wrong. She leaned toward him, unsure. May I? Touch your hand, he smiled. Always. Their fingers met. Her skin was cool, but the bond was warm. Ceressa whispered, When I touch you, I see your memories, your joys, your grief, all of it. And yet, it doesn't crush me. It makes me more. Elias said nothing. He just held her hand tighter. That night, as she returned to her chamber, Ceressa felt something rising inside her. Not fear, not sorrow, hope. But as she closed the door, a shadow moved behind her. Council enforcer stepped from the wall, a needle-like tool in hand. You were given a day, it said. But the council has changed its mind. Ceressa gasped as the tool pressed to her neck. Her last thought before everything faded was of Elias, the music box. The next morning, Elias came to find her. Her room was empty. On the table sat the music box, still playing, and etched beside it. In small, careful letters were 5 trembling words. Do it again, human. Please. Elias stood in Ceressa's empty chamber, his hands clenched. The music box on the table kept playing its soft melody, but the sound felt wrong now, like a broken lullaby. She was gone, not taken by force, not hidden behind bars. I know something. Worse had happened. They had erased her. The mind purge. Cruel practice that stripped Valari empaths of their memories and emotions. It didn't leave scars on the body, but it erased what made them alive. Elias picked up the music box. Her final words were still carved beside it. Do it again, human, please. His heart ached. Those 5 words were her last fight against forgetting him. He left the chamber with a promise. This isn't over. Back on Terra, Leah stormed into the Terran Council headquarters. He stood before the leaders of Earth, humans dressed in fine suits, speaking soft, polite words, but offering no real help. This was supposed to be a cultural mission, Elias said, but they used it to erase her mind. She is not human, Commander, one of the diplomats said coldly. Their ways are different. She trusted me. She chose to feel, Elias snapped, and now she's a prisoner in her own body, the head counselor sighed. The Valari are peaceful now. We cannot risk war over an emotional incident. Elias slammed his fist on the table. You don't get it. She didn't just learn from me. She loved. She was more human than some people in this room. But no one listened. They gave him a new assignment, far from the Valari sector. A silent order to let it go. Elias left the room without a word. He had no intention of following orders. Weeks passed. In a hidden lab beneath the city of New Geneva, Elias met with Dr. Lyra Monroe, a human neuroempath specialist. She was purged, Lyra asked, shocked. That's brutal. She fought it, Elias said. She remembered me, even when they tried to erase her. Lyra nodded. There's something we can try. It's called echo mapping. It uses human emotion to awaken dormant memories. But we'd need access to her mind. I'll get us there, Elias said. What? Whatever it takes. Together, they built a small, cloaked shuttle, unregistered, illegal, but fast. Its name was simple, Pulse Heart. Return to Velar, space and silence, flying beneath their detection systems. The galaxy around him sparkled, but his focus was clear. Find Ceressa. Bring her back. They landed on a small moon station near the Velari capital. It was a medical facility, quiet and cold. Inside, the walls gleamed like mirrors. Machines hummed softly, and in one quiet room, Ceressa sat on a glass bench, staring into nothing. Her face was calm. Her eyes were open, but empty. Elias entered slowly, Ceressa. He whispered. She looked at him, but showed no sign of recognition. I'm Elias, he said, voice shaking. You gave me this. He held out the music box. He wound it and let it play. She didn't move, but her eyes blinked. Slowly, a tremble. Lyra connected the echo mapping device. Soft lights moved between Ilias's hand and Ceres's temple. They weren't forcing anything. They were inviting her to remember. Just listen, Elias said, kneeling beside her. To the music. And to me. Memories flowed through the connection, images of laughter, of shared stories, of their hands touching, of her whispering in the dark. Suddenly her head jerked. A tear fell. I know you, Ceressa whispered, voice cracked and slow. You came back. Yes, Elias said, smiling through his own tears. I told you, you're not alone. She touched the music box. I remembered the sound. It followed me, in the silence. Her hands trembled, but her eyes lit up. I dreamed of a voice. Yours. It said, do it again. Love me once more. You said that, Elias replied, and I never stopped. Lyra looked at the monitors. Her emotional centers are waking fast. The council will know. It's kind of awakening. Sends waves. Sure enough, alarms started ringing outside. They'll come to erase her again, Lyra said. We need to leave now. Ceressa stood slowly. I can walk. Are you sure? Elias asked. I don't want to be empty anymore, she said firmly. Not even for a second. They raced through the corridors, Ceressa guiding them through. The back paths, she remembered. Guards spotted them near the outer gates, but Ceressa reached out with her mind and sent them a wave of calm. The guards froze, not in pain, not in fear, but in awe. She touched them with feeling. Lyra whispered, she's doing it on purpose. Ceressa turned to Elias. I don't want to run forever. I want to show them, ... what we felt. We will, Elias promised. But first, let's get you safe. They escaped aboard Pulsehart, lifting into the stars. Behind them, the moon station grew smaller. But something had changed. Ceressa's emotions were not gone. They had survived the purge, and now they were stronger. As the stars passed outside, Ceressa sat beside Elias. She leaned gently on his shoulder. I thought I had lost everything, she whispered. But you came back. I will always come. Back, he said. She smiled, eyes soft. Then do it again, human. Love me once more. The stars glowed bright outside the window of the small ship, Pulsehart, as it raced through deep space. Inside, Elias watched Ceressa carefully. She sat quietly, her violet eyes half closed, hands folded over the small music box. It looked calm on the outside, but Elias knew better. Her mind had been broken, wiped, and rebuilt.
Ow.
Her memories had returned, but they were still fragile, like glass trying to hold fire. You doing okay? Elias asked gently. Ceressa opened her eyes slowly. I feel full. My emotions rise like waves. I try to hold them, but they keep coming. That's called being human, Elias said with a small smile. It's never easy, but it's worth it, Ceressa nodded. Then I will learn. Dr. Lyra Monroe walked into the cockpit. Her brow was furrowed as she looked at her datapad. The Valari Council sent out a signal. They're alerting all systems. Ceressa's return of emotion. Sent shock waves through their network? They'll come after us, Elias said, his voice tight. They'll come after her, Lyra corrected. They see her as a threat. Ceressa looked down. They fear what I've become. No, Elias said firmly. They fear what you'll inspire. They couldn't hide forever. So Elias made a bold choice. We don't run, he said. We go to them. Lyra blinked. You're talking about flying straight into the Valari capital? Yes, he said. Ceressa deserves a voice. They tried to erase her. Die. We show them she's alive, and stronger than ever. Ceressa stood tall. Her voice was quiet but certain. I am not afraid. I will speak. I must. Pulsehart approached the Valari capital, a massive shining city floating inside a gas giant's upper layer. Clouds swirled below like storms. Trapped in slow motion, the city was silver and soft blue, shaped like a spinning flower. As they entered, hundreds of Valari ships surrounded them, glowing with warning lights. A cold voice echoed through the ship's systems. Unregistered. Vessel. You carry a corrupted empath. Surrender or be erased. Saressa stepped forward, her voice clear. I am Saressa. I choose to speak. There was silence. Then slowly, the ships pulled back just enough to let them land. Inside the council hall, 12 elders waited again in a perfect circle. The same cold eyes stared down at them. Overseer Keleth floated forward. You return? With corrupted emotion, this is not the way of Valari. Saressa stepped into the light, no longer afraid. This is not corruption, she said. This is life. The elders did not move. Elias watched from the side, ready to fight if needed. Saressa raised her hands slowly. You fear emotions because they once broke our kind. But it was not feeling that destroyed us. It was the fear of feeling. You taught us silence. But silence is not peace. Silence is death. One of the elders spoke. You have become like the humans. Saressa turned to Elias, then back to them. I have learned from him. I have felt joy, sorrow, love. None of it broke me. All of it made me stronger. Overseer Keleth's glow darkened. You speak madness. No, she whispered. I speak truth. She closed her eyes and opened her mind. A wave of emotion spread through the room, not anger, not pain, but memory. She shared her experiences, the first time she heard music. The moment she touched Ilias's hand, the feeling of being loved for the first time. Some of the elders gasped. A few trembled. Then one fell to his knees, not from weakness, but from understanding. I felt light, the elder said, a light I had forgotten. Another elder whispered. Her emotion did not crush me. It warmed me. Da-da-da-da-da-da. The room buzzed. Minds were shifting, but not all. Overseer Keleth raised his hand. Enough. This path leads to destruction. He summoned enforcers from the shadows, tall figures with blank faces and weapons that shimmered with energy. Elias stepped forward. She's not alone. The enforcers hesitated. Saressa turned to Keleth. You fear change, but you cannot. Stop it. Then she did something no Valari had done in 1,000 years. She sang. A soft melody. The same one from the music box. Her voice floated through the hall, gentle and trembling, but real. It reached every corner of the chamber, touched every heart, even the coldest ones. Some Valari began to weep. Lyra whispered, she's not just an empath. She's a beacon. The enforcers slowly lowered their weapons. Overseer Keleth backed away, his control slipping. You cannot stop what's already begun, Saressa said. And then one of the elders stood. I support her, he said. Then another. Let the embraced speak. Soon, half the council stood behind her, and more would follow. Elias stepped beside Saressa. You did it. Saressa smiled faintly. We did it. Outside the hall, the people of Valari gathered. The emotional wave had reached far. Empaths, who had hidden their feelings, now stood proudly. Silence had been broken. Songs began to return. Change had started. Later, in a quiet garden, Elias and Saressa sat side by side. The city lights glowed softly above them. Are you scared? Elias asked. A little, she replied. But now I know I don't walk alone. He held her hand. You brought back something your world had lost, he said. And I'm proud of you. She leaned closer, her voice a soft whisper. Do it again, human. Love me once more. And he did. The Valari city no longer slept in silence. For the first time in generations, people spoke with feeling. Some laughed, some cried, some just stood under the soft lights, unsure of what they were now allowed to feel. And at the center of it all stood Saressa, the first Valari in centuries to be embraced. One who chose emotion over stillness, but with change came fear. Not everyone welcomed it. Saressa stood at a tall window, looking down at the glowing city below. Behind her, Elias and Dr. Lyra Monroe talked quietly about what came next, but Saressa was quiet. Her mind felt full again, not just with joy or peace, but something sharp. Worry. Some of them hate what I did, she whispered. Elias looked. At her, you gave them something they forgot they needed. Not all, she said, turning around. Some see me as a threat to their order. They're afraid of losing control, Lyra added. Emotion can't be ruled, it makes leaders nervous. Saressa nodded slowly. I want to help them, not rule them, not break them. Then keep doing what you're doing, Elias said. Mind at a time. Outside the city, in the deep halls of the old Valari archives, Overseer Keleth gathered with the silencers, a group sworn to preserve pure logic. She has infected the minds of the council, Keleth said. She spreads weakness. She must be removed, one of them hissed. Quietly, we will not use violence, Keleth replied, but we will make her feel what she has done. The silencers activated an ancient signal, one that could disrupt the emotions of a Valari empath. It would not kill her, but it would break her spirit. Back in the city, Saressa walked through the garden where she first sang. People greeted her with new warmth. Children offered her small crystal flowers. Elders gave soft nods of Valari sign, of deep respect, and yet something inside her began to shake. Her heartbeat changed. The colors around her dimmed. Her hands trembled. Elias noticed first. Saressa? I don't feel right, she said, holding her head. It's like something is pressing on me, pushing me down. Lyra scanned her quickly. She's being attacked, not physically, but emotionally. Oh, some kind of emotional disruptor. Saressa dropped to her knees, breathing hard. It's taking my feelings, pulling them out. Elias grabbed her hand. Stay with me. Look at me. Her eyes met his, wide, scared. Elias. I'm slipping. The signal grew stronger. Saressa's memories began to fade again. Her voice grew quiet, and she couldn't remember the music, the garden, the first time she laughed. But Elias remembered it all, and he wouldn't let her forget. He knelt beside her, pressing his forehead to hers. Listen to me. You are not alone. You are not broken. Her body shook. It hurts, I know, but pain means you're feeling. Feeling means you're alive. He took her hand and placed the music box in it. Play it, he said. Remember? Her fingers trembled, but she turned the small key. The melody began, soft, slow. Her breathing steadied. Tears ran down her cheeks. I remember she whispered, You came for me. You stayed. I always will, Elias said. The signal suddenly stopped. In the old archives, the silencers looked confused. She resisted the signal. One said Keleth's voice shook with anger. She has become too strong. She is spreading. Hope they shut down the machine and vanished before the council could track them. But the damage was done. Back at the council chambers, Saressa stood once more, weakened but unbroken. Signal, she said, voice firm, was a message. Some still want silence, but I will not go back. One elder stepped forward. You survived what no one else could. What do you want from us, Saressa? She looked at them with clear eyes. Not power, not control, only the right to feel, and to let others choose for themselves. There was silence. Then another voice, young and unfamiliar. I choose emotion. Ah! Young Valari stepped from the crowd, a technician, barely trained. Then another spoke. So do I. One by one, more voices joined. Valari from all parts of the city, each one stepping forward. Elders began to murmur. Overseer, Keleth did not return. But the world had already changed. Later that night, Saressa sat with Elias on a quiet balcony. The stars looked softer now. I almost lost myself again, she said. But you didn't, Elias replied. You fought. You won. She held his hand. You gave me something I never understood before. What's that? A reason to? Come back. They sat in silence for a moment, the wind gently blowing through the silver leaves around them. Then Saressa leaned her head on his shoulder. I don't know what the future looks like, she whispered. We'll face it together, Elias said. And then, just like before, she smiled. Do it again, human. Love me once more. Weeks passed since Saressa stood before the Valari. Council and chose emotion over silence. The city above the gas giant had changed. The once quiet streets now echoed with music, voices, and laughter. Crystals that once glowed in cold blue now pulsed with colors. Valari children learned to draw, sing, and feel. For the first time in centuries, joy was not hidden, it was shared. But not everything was peaceful. There were whispers that the silencers, those loyal to the old ways, were gathering far from the city. Overseer Keleth had disappeared. No one knew where he went. Even in peace, danger waited in the shadows. Inside the Harmony Tower, Saressa stood before a gathering of Valari leaders and knew embraced. She wore a flowing robe of silver and soft red, the color of feeling. Elias stood at her side. She spoke with calm strength. We cannot force emotion on anyone, but we can offer the choice. Let those who wish to feel, and let those who still choose silence, be respected. The council nodded in agreement, but then a message came in. A ship had arrived, large, golden, and unfamiliar. It hovered near the outer edge of Valari's space. It bore the mark of the United Galactic Accord, the alliance of many alien worlds. And they had a question. What has changed in Valari space? The council turned to Elias. They want answers. He smiled. And let's give them the truth. A few days later, a large hall was prepared. Diplomats from across the galaxy arrived. They were tall, short, scaled, feathered, different, yet curious. Saressa stood before them all. Elias stood beside her, quiet but proud. She took a breath. You knew us as the silent race. Cold, logical. But something was always missing. Emotion. Some delegates looked concerned. One asked, "Can your people control this new change?" Saressa replied, "We do not wish to control it. We wish to understand it. We wish to live." She reached for Ilias's hand. I learned what emotion was from a human. He gave me music, stories, and love. The room grew still. I was erased. Once, they tried to take it all from me, but it returned because of him, because of hope. The galactic delegates whispered among themselves. Some were impressed. Some were afraid. One delegate said, "This could make you powerful." Saressa shook her head. "No, it only makes us complete." After the meeting, Saressa and Elias walked through the moon gardens above the city. "They're watching us now," Elias said. "Not as enemies, not even as allies, but as something new." Saressa smiled. "They want to understand." "And you're ready to teach them?" "I don't have all the answers," she said, "but I have a beginning." They reached a quiet spot near a crystal lake. Saressa sat down, her fingers trailing through the water. "When I was young," she said, "I dreamed of a voice calling to me through the darkness. I never knew what it meant. And now," Elias asked. She looked at him with soft eyes. "Now I know. It was your voice. It's calling me to wake up, to feel, to live." He said nothing. He just held her hand. That night, as they sat under the stars, a soft breeze passed through the garden. The city lights shimmered gently below. The music box played beside them, a little worn now, but still strong. Saressa leaned her head on Ilias's shoulder. "Do you remember when I first smiled?" She asked. "I do," Elias said. "It was small, but real. You gave me that, and you gave it back." They sat in silence for a long time. Then Saressa whispered the words she had once spoken in fear, now filled with peace. "Do it. Again, human. Love me once more." Far away, in the cold shadows of a distant Valari outpost, Overseer Keleth watched the broadcasts from the city. His expression was unreadable. Behind him stood several followers, quiet, loyal, and cold. One asked, "Will you strike back?" Keleth turned away from the screen. "No, not yet." "Then what?" Keleth's voice was like steel. "Let them sing. Let them feel. But feelings rise and fall. When the pain comes, they will call for silence again, and we will be ready." On the city moon, Saressa walked into the learning halls where young Valari now studied the arts. One child was painting. Another was building a tiny harp. A small girl looked up at Saressa. "Is it true?" You were the first to cry? Saressa smiled. Yes, and I was not the last. The girl held out a flower made of glass. I made this. For you. Saressa knelt and took it gently. Thank you. Outside. Elias watched the moment quietly. All of it had grown from one simple thing. A whisper in the dark. The galaxy changed that year. The Valari were no longer just observers of logic. They became students of emotion and teachers of healing. Other races came to learn. Some came to challenge. But none left unchanged. Saressa and Elias traveled together, sometimes as diplomats. Sometimes as quiet witnesses to something beautiful. They never forgot the music. The pain, the whisper, and every night when the stars turned overhead and the ship drifted in silence, Saressa would rest beside him, her voice always soft, always. Steady would return. Do it again, human. Love me once more. And Elias would answer with his heart every time.